The concept of Sunnah in the Muwatta of Malik ibn Anas by Mohammed Yusuf Guraya, Mcgill University. Chapter 1. The concept of Sunnah, a background. Sunnah is a model behavior and an exemplary conduct. Ibn Mandur, in his Lisan al-Arab on the authority of al-Tahdhib, defines the term Sunnah as follows: As-Sunnah al-Tariqa al-Mahmuda al-Mustaqima. The Sunnah is a straightforward, commendable way of acting. This straightforward, commendable way of acting is a model behavior and an exemplary conduct which is followed only by those who regard it as an exemplary behavior, without any deviation to the right or to the left, i.e., without paying any attention to any other way. It implies that the element of normativeness, ab initio, is an integral part of the concept of Sunnah. No practice can gain currency unless ab initio it is considered a normative, and nobody is prepared to regard a behavior as exemplary unless ab initio he considers it normative. The element of straightness, al-mustaqima, in the above definition, is a necessary complement of an exemplary conduct. The original meaning of the term sunna is to introduce, i.e., to introduce a straightforward, exemplary way in absence of any agreed upon conduct. It is in this sense that Ibn Muqaffa advised the Abbasid Caliph al-Mansur to introduce his own sunnah when there was no agreed upon sunnah of the Prophet. In the same sense, Ibn Mandur quotes a statement: "I have set up an example for you, therefore follow it. Sana'tu lakum sunnatan fattabi'uha." The inquiries of Dr. Fazl Rahman has also led us to conclude that the element of normativeness is an inseparable part of the meaning of the concept of sunnah, whereas the element of straightness is a necessary complement of the concept of sunnah. Sunnatullah, the sunnah of God, has been used in the Qur'an, and the major lexicographers have also used it for the explanation of the term sunnah. On such occasions, sunnah means the moral law governing the rise and fall of nations of the world. This usage of sunnah also supports the view that sunnah is a model behavior and an exemplary conduct, though it is only ideally of the action pattern of one being, namely God, that is involved. That the original and primary meaning of the word sanna is to introduce and to set an example can be established by many examples. The commonly accepted meaning, to follow a trodden path, is in fact a secondary meaning. Ibn Mandur, in his Lisan al-Arab, while giving the original meaning of sunnah, quotes Shimr in these words. Translation: Sunnah in its original meaning is the way of acting that is a formal way of acting which was introduced by a former people, and which consequently became a trodden path for those that came after them. So Shimr says, Sunnah is an original way of acting, and a way of acting which was introduced by a former people, and consequently became a trodden path for those that came after them. In this statement, sunnah and maslak have very nicely been differentiated. Here sunnah very clearly means the example, exemplary conduct, set in the beginning, and when that example in due course of time has become trodden upon, then it is a trodden path. We call it maslak. In another statement, Ibn Mandur says, Sana'tu lakum sunnatan fattabi'uha. I have set an example for you, therefore follow it. In this statement, the verb used to convey the meaning to set an example is sana'tu, and the verb conveying the meaning to follow is ittabi'uha. Al-Jawhari and later lexicographers gave the original meaning of the verb sanna'aha or sawwaruha, he shaped it or he produced it. Ibn Manzur said sanantu means sawwartu, I shaped it or produced it as a model. Ibn Muqaffa and Abu Yusuf advised the Abbasid Caliphs, Abu Ja'far al-Mansur and Harun al-Rashid respectively, to introduce their own sunnahs. Ibn Madhur quotes a verse of Khalid ibn Ataba al-Hudhali, which says, "Do not be hesitant about an example which has been introduced, for the first person to be satisfied with a sunnah is the one who has introduced it, i.e. has performed it first of all." Ibn Mandur gives another example. He says, صنع فلانا طريقا من الخير. Such a one originated or introduced an act of goodness or piety, or a good or pious way of acting, which his people knew not, and which they afterwards followed. We have noted above the usage of Sunnatullah, the Sunnah of God, in the Qur'an. Almost all the lexicographers have used the verb forms Sunnallahu sunnatan, God prescribed his sunnah. Both forms sunnah and sunna with reference to God definitely means to prescribe or to manifest, as clearly distinguished from to follow. It becomes abundantly clear from the above evidence that the term sunnah and the verb sunna originally and primarily means to introduce, as distinguished from to follow. After having established the original and primary meaning of the term sunnah, the verb sunna, now we turn to have a look at its secondary meaning, to follow. This means it seems that it does not come from the base stem sanna, but it is derived from stems such as tafa'ala, ifta'ala, istaf'ala, e.g. tasannana or istanna or istasanna bisunnatihi, and other examples. He followed the conduct of someone. It may be interesting to note that almost all different meanings from the roots sannana denote some good and useful sense, whether it means to sharpen a knife, to increase the appetite, to breed camels well, to polish one's speech, to shape, form, mould, produce as a model, to prescribe, introduce, enact, establish a law, a custom, a rule, a way of acting, to grow teeth, to be advanced in years, or to clean and polish one's teeth with a brush, etc. There is, however, hadith in the Kitab al-Kharaj of Abu Yusuf which states that one can introduce a bad sunnah. This solitary example cannot invalidate the essentials of the above view, because the answer given by Ibn Mandur is that those who set bad examples wish nevertheless to be followed by others, and in most cases, perhaps in all cases, they do not think they are setting bad examples. It may be gathered from the foregoing that the view that the primary sense of sunnah is the trodden path does not hold water. Rather, our inquiry into the original meaning of the concept of sunnah has led us to the conclusion that sunnah ab initio is a normative model behaviour and an exemplary conduct that is, in a primary sense, means the setting up of an example. Stay tuned.